Good evening and welcome to my live podcast from Southern California. I'm Bob Pace, and we're here to fight CPS and stop taking our children. Hopefully, y'all can hear me pretty well. Um, I have the volume up and my headset on, and hopefully, you hear my voice and there's no background sound that is happening. Um, if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up or tell me you can hear me. And if it's too much background, let me know and I can move to another location. Um, anyway, you found the right spot. You found me on Facebook, and I'm here to help you share my case with CPS. I've been there, I've been in the same position you have been. There's a lot of things I share with you and a lot of things I ran into. But hopefully, in this next hour, I can help you get your children back or hang on to your children and how to fight CPS because it's not a very good agency. It's a bad agency, is what it is. And so I really want to help you. Now, there's several ways that you can participate in this live podcast. One way is that you can type in your comment about a CPS question you may have about your case or someone else's case. When you do so, please show your name, city, state, or country and be complete with your CPS case. It's hard for me to play ping pong when you tell me a few things and then I have to ask you and it goes back and forth like a ping pong game. Try to be complete, start at the beginning, tell me the children involved, the different if there's different fathers involved or different mothers. If you're a grandparent, is this your daughter? Those kind of things, and tell what allegations were charged against you and where you at on your case and what can I do to help you. So that's one way is to type in comments. And I did say country code because, not the code, but the country because there are a lot of countries that call in too. It seems like on Facebook, if you type the word fight CPS, it'll bring you to lots of people that are fighting CPS, and I'm one of them. Anyway, I've had uh, comments from Australia, from Canada, and then I've had some from the United Kingdom, and then a little country in South America I don't know much about is Ghana, which is a little bit southeast of Venezuela and north of Brazil, along the coast there of the Atlantic on the east side of South America. But it's person had some concerns in Ghana. Also, I've had um, uh, Mexico. Someone called from Mexico. In fact, they did call me, and they were trying to work out their children. They were in Louisiana, and then I've had Mozambique on the east side of the African, down towards the bottom there by South Africa on the coast, down from Somalia across Madagascar. Mozambique is a country that they're struggling too with CPS. And after Mozambique, I had Denmark, country in Europe, and they were talking about their case and so forth. Also, I've had Rwanda. It's a small country in the bottom half of Africa towards the east, and they called in too with their questions, concerns about CPS. I've had Liberia on the west coast of Africa along the coast. Several times he's been on. He's a scout leader and he tries to get ideas of how to keep his children safe. Scouting has changed. They don't call it Boy Scouts, they call it Scouts. And that because we have boys and girls now involved in the scouting program. So he is called several times. And so Um, Hi, Faye. Welcome. I'm glad you can hear me okay and the background noise isn't too bad. Um, I'm glad you're here. And Faye is from Richmond, Kentucky. She's a remarkable woman who's gone through foster care all her life. As a young child, she was in it 5 times, and as an adult, She's been having trouble with foster care, and she lost her daughter sadly. And that's sad because once you have a case on you in foster care, you're gonna line up with the um, situation that you're gonna have there. So um, I'm glad she's here because she has some really good insights. Right now, she's struggling with a 22-year-old son that has special needs, a fine boy, and she's trying to do um, guardianship of her son who needs adult guardianship. Because when special needs kids can't take care of themselves, they need someone to care. And as I say, the best person to take care of your children are the biological parents, the mother and father of the child. Unfortunately, I should say, her husband, or not her husband, but anyway, the men in her life have been really terrible. And her mom wasn't that good growing up. And so she's a remarkable lady, and she's got a lot of medical issues, but she's hanging in there. And I'm so glad to have her every time. And um, I have other ways that you can participate. Um, you can participate um, another way is you can call me on my phone number. I have an office phone number. I have it turned on to answer calls between uh, my show times. I'm on every day of the week, 7 days a week, and I'm on at 10 o'clock in the morning, except Sunday. Today I was on at 8 this morning. And then again, I'm on at 7 o'clock like I am tonight, and I'm on for an hour in Pacific Standard Time. So it's 10 o'clock in the morning and 7 o'clock at night Pacific Standard Time for an hour. Except on Sundays, I come on at 8 o'clock in the morning. But I'd love for you to call in and talk about your case. I would put my speaker on, hold it near the mic, and so the people on the show can hear you and so forth. So I would love that you would do that for me. Um, Another way you can interact is with my producer, my show producer. She works behind the scenes and helps produce my show. Her name is Grace, and she would gladly help you be on my show as a guest. She'll give you the link because I'm broadcasting on the StreamYard application, and I'm broadcasting over YouTube. And she'll tell you how to get on and what you can do and not do on the show as a guest. But all you do is email her at grace@vincentwdavis.com. Grace@vincentwdavis.com. And she will gladly put you on the show. You just tell her I want to be on Bob's Saturday morning show or Bob's Sunday evening show, or I want to be on Bob's Wednesday morning show or Wednesday evening show, whatever it's going to amount to be. So, with that being said, um, I like for y'all uh, to be my guest because there's a lot you can talk on the show about other people and help other people. So those are three ways: either text comments, be a phone call, or a guest on my show. And I'd love to have you. Now I'm gonna leave my phone number up, and um, so we're going to talk about a little bit about my case and a little bit about my rules. I have four rules. One of my first rules is to get an attorney, and I want to talk about that. My rule two is to have a notebook to organize all your paperwork and all your notes in there. Rule three is to say no to social workers and police. Don't let them in your home, and don't let them take your children, whether you're in for a doctor visit or having a child or anything on that. So it's very, very important um, that you keep track of your children and don't give them up so easy, like most of us did. Now, The fourth rule is the research rule, and that's where you need to learn everything there is about your CPS case in the area we live. And I'll talk more of them in depth, but I wanted to get them out right now. There's a lot of topics we can talk about. I first like to kind of describe the agency if you never dealt with them or this is the first time. They're horrible. They're horrible to me. Back in 2010, unfortunately, I lost my job. I had a really great job, and unfortunately, I had to go to a kind of a hard lifestyle where I had to cut back a lot of things. We had to cut back the coke, the chips, the desserts, the trips to Disneyland. We couldn't afford those, so I had to go to what was called a Spartan lifestyle, and my kids were so used to being spoiled, and that's part of my problem. You know, when you raise kids, you try to do something better than what your parents did, and I gave them way too much things. I was very blessed and fortunate to have a good paying job, a beautiful home, but so much of that I lost with my involvement in CPS. It's very tragic because what you're going through, you're dealing with an agency just to set the tone. I want you to picture this. In 2022, 8 social workers made up the Prescott Social Service System. They call themselves in Arizona the Department of Children's Services, DCS. But I call all the children's services that deals with the protection of children the child protection system because so many of the states have different. In Kentucky, it's different, and so forth. So it's easier for me just to say CPS. So this outfit in Prescott, Arizona, thought they'd be really great social workers. I don't know where their head was, but they decided to create pink T-shirts, and on the front of them they say um, "professional child kidnappers." Now, if you know who professional child kidnappers are, CPS, the Child Protection System, identify them. So those were there. And on the back of the T-shirt, they said, "Do you know where your children are at?" Now, the front and back was very, very distressing to a lot of the parents. They prayed themselves at Walmart and other department stores till they eventually got caught. And then, of course, they were fired, as well as the director to allow such a thing. But the damage was done. And I hate to say it, every social worker I talk to, personally, 101, or to the people that call in, are bad, are corrupt. They're not transparent. They don't care about you as parents. They don't care about if you're a senior or an elderly person. They don't care about special needs kids. All they think about is trafficking your children, which is against the law, alienating your children, which is against the law, stealing your children, that's against the law. They want to put them in foster care, and that's wrong. That's wrong. And they're not in extreme danger, but they still take them. That's the sad part about this whole thing. So you start off, and I've had one social worker on here, Carol from Maryland, that did talk on my show about what she did and that she was educated. She got a degree in clinical psychology and she was trained for 6 months in Maryland before she started her job, which is nice to know. But every state's different. I know that in Kentucky, all the social workers are required to have a college degree in social work, and they also required to have a license. In California, you're not required to have any kind of college degree, let alone social workers, and a license. So it varies from state to state. And it's sad to say that there are a lot of bad social workers. There was one just the other day that decided to run an ad. And they said on the ad, it was an old ad. They copied an ad from 1848. And the social worker in Chicago, Illinois, posted on her Facebook, and the ad said, "Black children for sale." Now that disturbs me because why in the year 2024 a social worker would put on her page, Black Children for Sale, and she was black herself, which even I don't understand. Yes, during the Civil War, before the Civil War, slavery was a big issue, and the blacks were going through a lot. So I feel bad that this is on the web page, and it was wrong. It was wrong what they did there. They Black Children for Sale should not have been on there. So um, Faye has told us, and I know what she's done. She's bankrupt herself and took out 6 loans fighting them, and still only got my 13-year-old back, not my baby daughter. And I feel sorry for her. I had to sell my home. I had a beautiful home, and I had to sell my home. The money I used it to get my kids. So I lost my home, and I'd worked 40 years for that home. I had worked all my life since age 15, and I saved up money and bought my first home, and then bought my second home, and then I bought my third home, and then this was my fourth home that I lost. I had purchased 3 homes. I was very blessed. I had a job that could help me do that. My first home um, that I got, and I got a second home, a retirement home that I had to give up. So I'm a family man. I'm a loving father. I have 6 children. I care about my family. In fact, I care about them too much, and I think I've spoiled them too much. And that's part of my problems now is trying to deal with the aftermath of this child protection agency for 15 years that I've been fighting for. I do these podcasts because I care about all of you and I want you to do better. I care about people like Faye, who has tried so hard. She's a single parent and she lost her young little baby daughter, and she struggled with her son. And so he's come back there. Hi, Natalie. I have missed you. Natalie is from West Hollywood. She's a longtime person on my show, and I haven't seen you in a long time, Natalie. And she's from West Hollywood, California. So we have Kentucky and California represented at the moment. But she's a mom, a very dear mom that's had some hiccups and has problems with CPS. All of you I know have to because it's a very corrupt agency. And I've told you about 2 scenarios: the Pink Ladies and the ad for Black Children for Sale. I mean, that's the mentality of social workers. They're out to get you. They're out for revenge. They did that with my daughter. Oh my God, did they ever do that? I have a daughter who's 21 now. She'll be 22 this July 9th. And she was taken from me at age 12, both from my wife. And it's all doing of the social worker. The social worker got caught lying in court. I had an attorney. We caught her doing big time lying. And we were going to sue them, but it cost money to sue. But anyway, she was told to divorce her parents. Not only divorce the parents, divorce her brothers. She had 2 brothers there, and divorce her family members, her aunts and uncles and cousins and grandparents. That's sad. And then she was told to seal her birth certificate like she wasn't born or created by us. That was wrong too. Changed her social security number as another social security number, and then changed her name. She changed her name, not only her name, her middle name, her last name. So she doesn't even have the beautiful name we gave her. And then on top of that, she got adopted by a foster care family. Now she's left them because they did something bad to her. I don't know the details, but she'd be 22 this July, and I don't know if she's finished college. I don't know too much of her years past 12 because we are kept in the dark. See, social workers have a habit of hiding things. Yeah, Natalie says they bothered her about her plants. And yes, she knows about the pink ladies. And Natalie says the Bible says only God knows what to use as his true love. And thank you for the prayers. I know I pray to God. I pray to God to protect people and what people are going through. So I'm really glad you guys are in my room, Natalie and Faye. Um, that is really good um, that you're here. And I'm trying to share with you all what to do and not to do. And you have to understand CPS is just like your Alice in Wonderland. You fell in the rabbit hole and you're going from room to room, don't know where you're going. And on top of that, let's say off with your head, just like in Alice in Wonderland. They're corrupt. In Richmond, Kentucky, there's over $900,000 that they don't know what they spend it on. There's so much corrupt about the money part. They make so much money. They make 20,000 for each of my child. They took three of them. That was $60,000 a month they're collecting. Think if they had 100 families, how much more that 100,000. I mean, that 60,000 would be um, with 100 families. I know there's more than 100 families in Orange County, but 60,000 is a lot of money for three children. And if you look at it, that's $6 million for 100 families. If they each had three children, $6 million. It's an $80 billion business. Our social worker, is a young girl, used to talk about how she got a new Gucci purse every week, her makeup, her eyeliner, her accessories, her clothes, and everything. So it was really, 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 really hard. So it's a money thing why they do that. So you got to be smart, and the internet's a good spot to start. There's a lot of information. Also, you got to learn some things. Like I mentioned, my first rule: have an attorney is very important because they know how to navigate CPS. You see, CPS is just like doing open heart surgery. Can you imagine doing open heart surgery with a layperson? Can you imagine doing open heart surgery uh, with a family or friends or whatever, or a plumber or an auto mechanic? No, you need a professional doctor, and that's why you need a professional attorney. And so I'm telling you, you got to be really, really, really careful um, when you talk to them. Um, I I have an attorney right here who produces podcasts. He's a nice guy. His name is Vincent W. Davis, and he is an attorney that has over 35 years of fighting CPS and does get your children back. He's a trial attorney. He's very professional. He knows all about family dependency law. And that's the area that you're in. You're in family dependency law. And so right now, you can call him to have a strategy meeting, meaning you can meet with him for 30 minutes and talk to him about your case. And he will help you negotiate and how to fight CPS. Also, if you like him, you want to talk about hiring him. Now, he does charge for his consultation. It's $60, $2 a minute for 30 minutes. But it'd be well worth it to have him help you. I don't know how else I can explain that to you, but it'd be well worth it. And the number is 888-888-6582. And you could call in and tell him that Bob Pace sent you. And when you do speak to Mr. Davis, tell him that Bob Pace sent you. So you need to get an attorney to fight because I tried to. I tried to pro se. I tried to use a court appointed. And by the way, the court appointed attorneys are a waste of time. their clients that they have are over 60 clients. So they don't have time for your case. They won't fight for you. Uh, they are not that knowledgeable. It's a waste of time. If you think you're going to get a good public defender, you know, CPS is a strange thing. You are guilty until you're proven innocent. You're guilty till you're proven innocent. And so, what I'm telling you is that you need to get a professional attorney. And with that, you'll find your case. My attorney, when I hired him, I had to sell my home. I took that money and paid him his retainer. And he got back two of my three children. My daughter was lost because I waited too long. And um, you need that kind of attorney to fight because they are corrupt. They lie, they cheat, they'll fool you, they'll make you sign papers, they'll make you sign blank pages of papers for the promissory that you get your kids back. No, no. You try not to talk to them, you use yes no answers with them, and you do not surrender your children. If they come to your home, don't let them in, don't answer the door. You don't have to, even if the police are present. And you can certainly, steer them off. I have a story that maybe you guys can relate to, but it's a 23-year-old man, a black man. He was in the United States Air Force, an airman. He was shot dead, point blank, by answering the door. 5 bullets went in straight into his chest, right to his heart. And all that was going on was supposedly suspected domestic violence. But even that wasn't too clear. The guy was talking to his girlfriend on FaceTime, so she watched him die, you know, and that was sad because she was there on Facebook, but all she could do is watch him die. And the sheriff at Gainesville did some stupid things, and that's what I'm telling you, don't answer the door. That's a no no. You don't have to by law. What you can do is that the best thing you do is to hide some of the house away from them. Don't let them come in the house. The only reason why they can enter your home is that there's something going on that's imminent danger, like the child is being thrown against the wall, the child is being hit aggressively, there is a domestic violence going on, people are screaming and yelling, there was a shooting going on, there was a knife used. Those kinds of things, the police and the social workers can enter the home for the protection and safety of the children. So I'm telling you, don't go in there. That's my rule number 5. And I've talked a little bit about that. So my rule number 1 is get an attorney. And my rule number 2, of course, is your paperwork. That's something that's always messed up. I'm not very good at paperwork. You need to get yourself a 6-inch thick 3-ring binder that you can put all your paperwork in there. You need to get subject dividers so that you can divide up your paperwork so you can find your paperwork. And one of the most important subjects is a thing called incident. Anything related to your children that involves your children, you should write down, whether it's from the police, a social workers, a neighbor, a friend, wherever it is. All you do is put down the date, the time, the location, and the people involved on the first line. On the second line, you put what the incident was about, and the third line, you put the outcome. And you skip a couple lines, write the next incident. Skip a couple lines, write the next incident. And if you need more lines, take it. You got tons of paper there. But that way, 6 months, a year, you'll know about your case because your case, my case lasted 3 years. I don't know what the norm is. They say it's 14 months, but I don't see that happening because you're going to actively fight them and stuff. So you need that notebook. Another subject matter is you can have a space for all your parenting classes, the certificates and the log at the front of it, what you take. And you have another tab for your programs, your anger management program, your drug programs. You have another one for your drug tests. You know, if you take drug tests, you can put all the results in there. Um, so you're going to set your tabs. What it's going to have is going to be organized so you can find things. By using a notebook and using tabs and papers to write down things, you'll be well protected. Because your case is not going to be over in a couple weeks. I got news for you. It's going to be years. It's going to be years. And some people are longer than 3 years. So they'll cheat and lie and do everything they can to have your children adopted in foster care so they continue for the life of the child to get money on their behalf. Remember, I told you 100 family with 3 children, it's $6 million. So it's a money making thing for them. Now, I have business Nuna, and she's from Iowa. She's been here before. My court appointed attorney set me up. Yep, they do that. She had told Department of Health Services in Iowa, that's the CPS, the Child Protection System, that CPS to give me the patch that day after my court date. I don't know what you mean by patch, making it mandatory. And I had to drink before court. I don't know what you're talking about, Numaya, but I'd like you to talk about it further. Um, um, she also said my attorney forced me to stipulate. If I would have known what stipulation meant, I would never agree. I told her from the get go I didn't want to stipulate. Department of Health Services should have shown proof. I agree. I'm so sorry that happened to you. Natalie from West Hollywood said they steal Social Security money and the kids are not able to get money for themselves as olders. Yes, that's so true. Welcome back, Faye. I did not know that you left. Nuna Business from Iowa says patch is like a drug test. Okay, so you had a drug test. You have to wear it for a week. Wow. And Faye says her attorney did the same thing, and Natalie says, hi, Faye. My attorney stipulated against my will, and I fired her. Yeah, you don't want court appointed attorneys. They'll screw you over many, 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 many times. So I've talked about the notebook and your paperwork. Don't forget a tab for your court papers and put all your court papers. You have to hole punch them. But that notebook will come in very valuable at the end. Now, Rule 3, I talked about early on, and Rule 3 is where you say no to social workers. You don't let them in your home. You don't let them take your children. The same goes for police. They have to have a court order, a warrant that spells out specifically what they can do and what they can't do. And then, uh, best thing to do is hide out in the house till they leave. If you're outside and you run into them, you can tell them, hey, look, I need to speak to my attorney before I speak any further. That way it gets you off. It's a timeout. So that's how you can get them away from you. Because it's your right. If you have something you feel uncomfortable about, just say, look, I need to stop. I need to speak to my attorney or I need my attorney present. You know, because they're going to try to trick you and con you and you get a bit. Now, a question Nuna Business says, does the court appointed attorney work for the DS? Yeah, they do. They do. They're friends with the social workers, attorneys, the children's attorneys, and the court judge. And isn't the county attorney representing DSH? Yeah, the county is representing the social workers. Yes, it is a conflict of interest because they play golf games, they eat out together. The judge and the attorneys are all cahoot. It's all a conflict. You're not going to get a free trial until you get a bona fide attorney. And I don't mean, you know, a court appointed attorney. I'm talking about attorney that you got to pay money. And I know money is a hard thing, but talk to Vincent. He'll work with you on that. He'll tell you how much his retainer is, but he's fair man, so he will help you on that. Yeah, I agree with you, Natalie. The kids' attorneys are no more smarter than they are. Now he says the judge was a racist towards me and my attorney. Yep. Yeah, the judges are bad too. And you can complain about judges and attorneys to the state bar. You can complain about them. There's ways you can look up on the internet and find out how to complain against the CPS social workers, against the judge, against the attorneys that have gone bad. But you got to, as I say, you got to get an attorney, a dependency attorney, and please call Mr. Davis. He will save you. It's the best call you ever make, and so you definitely want to call him. No question about that. I'm hoping that everybody can hear me okay and there's not background noise. I'm trying something new at a new location. Faye tells me that she can hear me, so that is good, and so forth. Now, another thing about you know not talking to social workers, don't let them in your home to take your children. Do not give up your children. You don't have to. They need a court order to have you surrender your children. So the best thing is don't answer the door, and if they do answer outside, you want to get away from them so you can go ahead and turn that part off. So I'm telling you, um, be very careful what you say and what you do. Um, Also, there's a thing called medical trafficking, and that's where you take a child in for medical treatment because in the middle of the night you woke up with a high fever. Be careful at the hospital you go to. Social workers will be called to take your children by the hospital workers because there may be suspected abuse. Also, if you're pregnant and you're going to have your child, be careful about social workers. They want to take your child when it's born if you test positive for drugs. So it's really sad, but you got to think about all these things ahead on that. Yeah, in Richmond, Kentucky, I've seen the videos. The police do try to take the children when they don't have a legal right to do so. Some police use their badge for power of authority, and they abuse their power of authority. They don't know where to stop. They think that they're untouchable. And maybe because they want to be a Billy badass cop or something, but it's wrong. It's totally, totally, totally wrong. Okay, if you got a court appointed attorney, all you do is say to your honor, I want to relinquish my attorney, and and if you want to file a complaint, you go to the judicial board and file a complaint against the public defender. But you can go to the public defender's office and terminate that attorney. You don't want a court appointed attorney. They won't help you, they do you no good. And so you need to get an attorney that will fight CPS and knows how to fight them and everything. And there is a form that you can fill out and you can submit her in there. But that court appointed attorney is a waste of time. I don't know if anybody agrees with me, but I've yet to hear good court appointed attorneys. Now, this thing about when you have a child in the hospital, you got to be very careful there because they're going to try to take the child when it's just born. So you don't want to give up your child. Know your rights. They have to have a court order before they do any of that. There's got to be a warrant. Yes, you need to hire an attorney for your son. Well, the courts are going to assign the children attorneys. If you have the money, I'd hire an attorney for your son. In fact, technically, you're supposed to have an attorney for the two parents. The children each have one, so that's three attorneys and two parents. That's five attorneys. And then the social services will have an attorney for each social worker, and then you got the judge, the clerk, and the bailiff. And it's sad because they're all working against you. So yes, you should hire an attorney for your son. You want to hire an attorney that's sincere. If they talk about money, then ignore them. But contact Mr. Davis. He'll steer you in the right direction. It's 888-888-6582. You can't go wrong. You cannot go wrong. All right, I have about 20 minutes left in my podcast, and I've talked about three of my rules here. My fourth rule is a really simple one. It's where you need to do the research about CPS in your city and state. You need to know all there is about CPS. You have to do is how to fight CPS. And if you're in a city, you name the city and the state. How to fight CPS in the city and state. And it's going to give you lots of ideas, and you need to do that. Again, my phone number is 626-698-0990 if you want to call in. Now, there's things called ICWA. ICWA is the Indian Child Welfare Act. It was enacted in 1978 to protect Indian children. What it basically is that any Indian children that have the blood, the CPS must investigate and see if they're registered with the tribe, one of the 547 federal tribes, and they need to find out if they're registered or could be registered. And what that means is they're going to turn over the children to the Indian tribe, and the tribe will send them with the Indian family, and they'll get you back on the right track and do family reunification. It's a lot better to go with the tribe. Now, Faye told me the other day that they're fighting ICWA, and so there are people that think it's wrong, but it's for the betterment. So if you're an Indian child or have Indian roots and so forth, and it can be registered or registered, then your case is handled differently. You need to look into that. That's the ICWA, Indian Welfare Child Act. Because the reason why Congress did that is because for over 100 years, the CPS was just putting the children automatically in foster care and have them adopted. And Indian families weren't standing a chance. I mean, they were told in 1875 to go on reservations, to cut their hair, to forget about their culture, to stop speaking the language. It's terrible how they were, you know, abused, and it's sad. And CPS was continuing that thing by favoring them. And it was wrong what CPS was doing. CPS is not your friend. They're going to try to con you into signing papers and saying things are not true. Now, Nunya Business says he had a guardian as a light to him. Well, that's not a lawyer. And can Department of Health Services ch- change the county attorney if she didn't like the fact that the county attorney told me one thing and she said no when all attorneys agree? You know, again, you're still talking about your court appointed county attorney. It's a losing cause. They're very corrupt. And you don't want to listen to DC. You don't want to talk to them. It's a yes no answer. And you shouldn't be there. Diane Guzman, I remember you, and you're from Nevada, Las Vegas, if I remember. And I really like to help you, and thank you for that. Natalie says guardians and ad litem is a child trafficker government appointed. Yeah, they're supposed to be neutral and help out your child, but they're not. They're ears for the CPS agency. You tell them, and everything you share with them, we share with CPS. So I'm telling you, it is wrong. It is very, 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 very wrong. Um, you know, um, with that being said, uh, I want to say that you need to really be very careful who you talk to. And again, it's yes, no answers. And don't talk to them because they'll use it against you. They'll use you against you. When the allegations come in, they're made by two people, lay people and professionals. And in my case, for 5 years, my in laws were trying to say that me and my wife weren't doing right things. And it was her family. and they've been after it since day one. And the in-laws didn't like the idea we get married, and they haven't still. So they were vindictive and wasting the court time. Um, so yeah, thank you. Yeah, you can call Natalie. That's fun. I love to hear your voice. You can call um, on the phone there. We have about 15 minutes left, 14 minutes left. So you're welcome to call in. And Natalie has talked before about her case and so forth. But here she is right now. So let me go ahead and get her on. Hi, Natalie.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Hi, Bob. How are you?
Oh, pretty good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you, Bob. Yeah, you're
Now,
right about the
Faye, can
dog.
you hear Natalie on the talk show? Can you
Hi,
hear
Faye.
Natalie's voice on the talk show?
Uh,
I'm making sure that's working with your my speaker. Natalie, if you're
yeah,
there, or Diane
I can hear
Guzman
you.
or Naya Bizen, can you hear Natalie on the
I'm not a
phone?
business.
Hold on a second, Natalie. I'm trying to see if the people out there listening can hear you. Can you hear Natalie talk on the phone?
Hello?
Yeah, hold on a second, Natalie. I'm asking the audience who are texting in
Okay.
comments if they can hear you on the show. Yeah, they can hear you. Good. Business
Okay.
says good. So, what can I do for you tonight? You have not been on my show in a while. What
Yeah, I
question
got
or
busy
concern do
with
you
the
have?
plant because I think in the DCS, they called on the plant, but so they were not bothering anyone. They just came and bothered me for the plant. So that's what they did. We're working with the plant, but they cleared me for the plant.
Now, can you explain to me how CPS was upset about your plants? Were they house plants? Were they outdoor plants?
They're just outdoor plants. So there's a DPS worker. She's been stalking me for years, and so she called code enforcement.
So, a CPS worker went beyond her bounds, called code enforcement. Now, what did code
Right.
enforcement tell you? Can you have plants?
I could have plants, and I just needed to trim the grapevine that was over the over the sidewalk a little.
Okay, okay, all right,
And they
okay.
were clean and organized because it's so offensive to me that they would pick on my plants because
Well,
they're for my kids.
when the CPS was calling, did you ask CPS what was wrong with, what was neglect and abuse with your plants?
I didn't ask them. I just assumed that's what they were doing because they just want to like make sure that I don't make sure like to bother me continuously.
Yeah, yeah.
So I didn't let the guy in the property at all, the enforcement man, because I listen to your show because I have a gate and I can have anything behind the gate.
Okay, okay. All right. Well, what then happened after the code enforcement? What did CPS do next?
They didn't do anything. They just probably laughed about it, you know. Because
Well,
the
did
girl
they
next
take
door
your
said probably
child,
their
or was
informant.
this later on in your case? Did they take your child?
Yeah, they did. I don't have my kid. And my
Yes, but
uncle's
weren't they
alienating
taken
me too.
earlier? Weren't they taken
My
earlier
uncle
from you?
alienating me. He's mad at my brother for some stupid reason, but it has nothing to do with me.
Okay. Now, what thing did they charge you? What neglect or abuse they charge you with?
They told me I was feeding my kids dog food.
You were doing what to your
And I left them
kids?
alone.
Slow down. What were you doing to your kids, Natalia?
They said that I fed them dog food and I left them alone.
Now, where did they come up with the dog food and you left alone? Was a neighbor calling in, or how did that
Yeah,
happen?
neighbor, he was calling and saying that, but I never fed him dog food. Okay, kids, they get into stuff, but I never fed him dog food.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you see what the problem is, and this is where I think it's wrong how allegations are called in. If they're done by lay people, most of the time they're a retaliation against a neighbor. Like a neighbor doesn't have any children, but they'll say some things that the neighbor
Right.
is abusing the children. And when they investigate, they find he doesn't have children, then something should be done about the false allegations. That's why I think
Right.
anybody that does
Yeah.
allegations should put it in writing and sign
They
the name
have to
to
put
it.
it in writing, and they also should put their name on it.
Right. Put it in writing, identify themselves, and sign it. Now, the social
If you want to
worker,
complain for a
the
dog,
social
a dog
worker,
has more rights.
yeah, the social
Like if the
worker,
dog is a nuisance, you can write a letter to the shelter and your name and address or whatever, and they can write about what's wrong with the dog, and they'll talk to the owner. But a dog has more rights than your kids and you.
yeah. Well, the social worker could be quiet about it. The social worker could
Well,
be
they
quiet
just want
about
to
it.
be what's the word like vindictive about stupid stuff, but the kids they just want to like bother the kids and you because it's a job for them, you know.
Yep, yep.
And I just afraid to like go like at night. Like I don't feel safe because I don't know what world they could do. I mean, I have a couple stalkers here, and it scares the life out of me. And the girl next door doesn't understand to turn that light off that flashes in my room.
Yeah,
Anything could happen.
yeah.
Anything. I mean, my house is fenced, but on the back, on the sides, but you don't really know if he could just jump in or whatever. These people are crazy out there, you know.
Right. So after they accused you, then they took your children because they're in imminent danger.
They said that what they did is they called even the police without a warrant, and they took my kids saying I was doing all this stuff to them, and I never did anything to them.
Well,
In fact, I was getting them
can you
ready to take
identify?
a shower afterwards.
Can you identify the things that they were saying you're doing? Can you identify that?
Well, they said that I left them alone. I didn't watch them.
So lack of supervision. They said that's neglect. What else they charge you
Right.
with?
They said I gave them dog food.
Right.
That
Okay.
that I let them run in the street.
Lack
Like
of
that.
supervision.
I mean, it was
The wrong
crazy.
kind of food for them. Right. So
But
anyway,
food. I mean,
what happened? What happened? What happened? They round up the kids and put them into foster care.
Yeah.
And where you at on your case right now? Where you at on your case?
I'm still trying to find that ICPC and reopen the case because I don't understand why they hiding it after all these times, you know?
Right.
They messed up with the evidence. It doesn't make sense that all of a sudden, like a few months later, that my daughters could be separated from my son and the ICPC like miraculously appears for my son. That doesn't make sense.
Right.
There's no separate ICPC. It's just one.
Right. Understood.
That don't make sense.
Yeah.
It's stress that I go through every day, guys. I don't know. I just want to let you know. I keep praying for y'all because I have a lot of stress from this. Okay, and I want to take my CPS test, and I have to take it again because of what they've done to me with the light and all that is it stressed me out, and the plant.
Well, what can I do?
I worked hard, and then
I know you have worked hard.
Why they keep targeting my house? I don't even bother nobody around here.
Right. What can I do to help you?
The best thing you could try to research for me, help me on the ICPC thing, and maybe we could do something on the forehead because that's all we could do. You know, maybe we could try to contact my daughters because they need to know their brother. Maybe they could get a visit because they're entitled to sibling visit.
Yeah. How old is?
I don't know. If your daughter is 21, she can see her family, but I pray for that. I mean,
yeah. Well, she's gonna be 22.
Big now.
but she's so brainwashed by the social worker. Children do not change, which is so sad. I've had experience of losing children, and it's really sad.
I
You
just so
can't.
sad because yeah, you're right. They brainwashed them,
Yeah,
but the point is, if you could try to de-brainwash it somehow with some help, I don't know, the
you
church
can't. I
or
hope
anybody
she's
that
seen my
de-brainwashes the
sons.
specialist.
She is still in touch with my sons. They go out with her, so I'm hoping my sons can shed some light her way that tell her that her parents love her and they're not as bad as what they think we are.
Well, I know because that's the thing. They brainwash them so that way they can keep them down. You know, not keep them up. You know,
Yeah,
they brainwashed my daughter so bad, but they because they thought I wasn't their mother, and that breaks my heart. And when I'm writing, I start writing my book. So I have all these things going in the stress, and I always pray for you and everybody else because it's unbelievable that anybody could brainwash somebody like that.
well, Faye, her kids, her daughter was brainwashed. CPS is notorious for doing that. I think anybody who's listening in this room knows that. And that's a hard thing to deal with. That's a hard thing to deal with.
The thing with the brainwashing is unbelievable. It's like once your child is so nice to you, and the next it's like it turns against you like something like out of a movie. It's like why are you telling me these things? I just bought you a big expensive steak,
Yeah.
and they just didn't want to eat it, and then they changed their mind.
Right,
They
right,
ate it.
right.
I mean, I bought them the best everything that I could get. I went to Gelson's and everything to buy them the nice food. I didn't. And I even prepared food for them. I didn't just like buy like takeout food.
Right,
And then sometimes I would buy takeout food, but that was just because I was short on time.
right, right.
You know. But I just want everybody to know out there that I don't want anybody to suffer like this. And this is real. This is not a joke. I mean, they keep coming back with excuses even after your case is like I don't know, not around, but they remember you and they want you to like they laugh about it too. You know.
Yep, yep.
I see social workers like the pick ladies is they just running around with expensive shoes and all that, and it's just crazy. Like you don't need to wear expensive shoes. I mean, no.
Well, they get bonuses, and the sad part about social workers is they don't care. They really don't care about families. And all their interest is money. If you take away the money, I imagine some social workers, there may be nice ones, and there probably are nice ones out there. I've yet to have
I
them
had
come to
one
my
nice one.
show.
It was a man, but he was honest because he was afraid to go to jail.
Yeah. Well, I've had a social worker call into my show, and she was nice, but I've only had one social worker, and I wish other would call in the show and tell them what they do with their cases that the parents are accused of neglect or abuse. Because I love that social worker explain how they do it. Because there's got to be a better way. When you're investigating, you don't take the children unless they're in extreme danger. And most of the time, they're not in extreme danger. You work with the
See, the
parents.
thing is, they had changed the law, in California, so they manipulated it so they can have that right because it's that right to do it. That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to have to end the show because we're at 8 o'clock and I can only go
Right.
to 8 o'clock. But I really appreciate you calling and listening to me. I know you've been gone for a couple of days, but I appreciate
Yeah.
it. I also appreciate hearing from Iowa Nua Business. She's somebody that is shared a lot of stories. Diane Guzman from Las Vegas, Nevada, is come in, and of course you from West Hollywood, and then there's Faye from Richmond,
Yeah.
Kentucky. I want to thank
I
all
say,
of
hey,
you for your input and making the show possible and helping out each other. I know it's a
we
very
all have to
corrupt
help each
system.
other because nobody should have their kids with crazy people that
Yeah,
call PCFS.
yep,
Nobody. We all
right,
have to. We're united on this world through everything with God and our prayers,
right.
and we have to keep praying. There's the only way we can get out of this.
Right. Well, I want to thank you all for calling in and for texting in, and keep fighting for your child and pray. And God bless y'all. And I'll see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time.